Joining me now on the Knicks Film School Podcast, if you have turned on your TV at all, I was going to say in the last several weeks, but really these guys have been on MSG Network for a while now. And you're a Knicks fan, you are well versed in the stylings of both of my guests today. Currently, you could see them both every morning on MSG AM, which airs, as I'm sure you know, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. They have a bevy of guests on the regular, including former Knicks Latrell, Sprewell, and Steve Novak. But really, you're tuning in to see them because they're listen, I'm just calling it like it is. Monica McNutt and Kaz Famuyide. I hope I got your name right.
You got it absolutely correct, John. Thank you. I appreciate that. And, that's very kind of you to say that they tune in for us. I hope they tune in for me and Monica. They tune in mostly for Monica, basically. I'm just there to try and get her off track usually.
I'm blushing. It's honestly, Jonathan, it's been so fun to work with Kaz on this show. Like, I don't know if they're tuning in just for us, but I'm having a blast.
Well, no, but that's the thing is, like, you can tell when you're watching from home if people are actually enjoying what they're doing when they're talking about. And listen, let's call a spade a spade. When you're talking about the Knicks, it may not always be the most fun topic of conversation, and you guys make it fun. Monica, let me turn to you first. What has been the most enjoyable thing for you about the morning show so far?
I think, honestly, in this crazy year that is 2020, this is going to sound kind of dorky, but the consistency.
That's fair.
So when Kaz got sick, he really threw me off, Jonathan, but maybe we'll have time for that later. But it's been cool to really kind of develop a rhythm. And I think we're growing as professional friends, as friends in real life, as co-hosts on the show. And of course, we're definitely counting down so we can actually get some Knicks basketball back in action. But we've been having a blast with NFL and everything else along the way.
Kaz, this is obviously not your first rodeo in terms of, you've had your hand in every bit of content creation. How has this been unique, different, special for you since you got started doing the morning show?
Well, I'll say this has been special for me because anybody who's followed me knows that, one, I'm a Knicks fan. Two, I'm an unabashed New Yorker. Three, I'm like throwing some wrestling, and I'm a big pop culture, fanatic and journalist for a long time. And MSG AM kind of gave us the opportunity to combine all that. So, there's nothing like waking up in New York City and being the first voices that a lot of people hear, especially when they're going to work, especially in 2020, where we're all kind of working from home and stuff like that. And you could kind of pretty much watch anything you want to. So, the dopest part is, in the morning where you hop on Twitter, you hop on Instagram. I've even dove into the scary world of YouTube comments lately. So, and they've all been like really overwhelmingly positive, and like you said, man, you can kind of tell when people are getting along on the show, and the conversations me and Monica have off the air are probably like 20 times more hilarious and more incredible than we have on the air. But again, it's a family show, so well, it's what's brought us all together, and it definitely the chemistry is definitely shown on the show. I would hope so. So it's been very special, man. It's New York. It's me. It feels like I don't got to fake the funk for this show,
Well, but that's the thing is, like, it's always gets said, right? New York sports fans are the smartest fans in the world. I'm curious because I think about this sometimes, even what I do. How do you guys think about towing the line between, like, okay, we got Knicks fans tuning in, they're diehards, they know the salary cap, they know like the 78th best free agent on the market, this, like, all that stuff. But at the same time, like you were saying, Monica, it's a morning show, right? You got to bring a little bit of pop culture. You got to bring all that different. How do you guys work with that balance, I guess, when you go to, put on the show on the air every day?
Well, we've got a great team of producers. And so it's not like the show comes on at 8 o'clock and we just started talking about the show at 7:30. So we're in it, texting the night before. We're up at least an hour before as a team going through the show. So, like, we keep it real, and we're not going to spend an hour talking about one particular topic. You mentioned our bevy of guests. Like, the idea is to keep it moving. This is the nuggets that you need to know. This is our fun perspective on that. And we keep pushing. Like, I think for me, as a sports fan myself, I would not want to get stuck in one particular topic to start my day. If it's a team that I love, then I already know whether it's been good, bad, or ugly. If it's a team that I'm curious about, okay, well, let me know. Do I need to go dig in a little bit more and find out or research or Google or whatever? Or if it's just, giving me the layout of the day, okay, cool. Monica and Kaz mentioned that. I heard that this morning later on when I'm catching up with my other sports fan friends.
I love that. And by the way, you are obviously both big sports fans. Monica, is it Georgetown #1 for you? I'm assuming it is.
Yeah. No.
I mean, it's right there. I was going to ask you.
What was the dead giveaway there? I don't know. Was it the retired jersey behind? Maybe.
No, but tell the truth though, Jonathan. I didn't want this. I mean, I love our team. This was 10 years ago for me. I would not have this up except they're like, what's your story? And this is a huge part of my story, but I'm not that self-absorbed, I promise.
No, listen.
She's very humble. She's very humble. That's the one thing about Monica, but she will tell you about the buckets that she used to get every Saturday morning in Georgetown. Absolutely.
Used to? You don't play anymore, Monica?
Nah. You know what? For a while, I used to surprise the dudes in LA Fitness, and they'd be like, "Oh, you
really?
Played for real?" No, yes, I played for real. But now I'm like, too many germs. I don't do group gyms like that anymore.
Kaz, you mentioned it before. Wrestling. We're gonna get into hoops in a sec, but wrestling is a big part of your thing. When have you gotten into that? Tell me the deal.
So, like Monica said, we didn't put all this together. This is like the work
I know.
Folks in Madison Square Garden, but it does tell a story. The one thing that I do have that's up here that is me is that Survivor Series 1988 poster behind me with the Mega Powers taking on Akeem and Big Boss Man. This is literally my first memory. I was 1 year old, sitting in my dad's lap, and I just remember being in Wavecrest Gardens in Far Rockaway, Queens. And the first thing, my earliest memory, the first thing I've ever seen is just bright colors, muscles, people yelling, and fights. And I'm just like, what is that? And I always remember because I was sitting on my dad's lap and I was looking up and I was looking at him, and this image was just kind of like burned into my brain, and it just kind of grew and grew. And then, luckily enough, a couple years back, I got the opportunity to work at WWE and write stories for Raw and SmackDown and the pay-per-views and work alongside Vince McMahon. And, as far as like being a creative a content creator, WWE was always a checklist that I always wanted to kind of check off in my career, I guess. Checklist. I said it twice, but I mean, that was something I've always wanted to do. I had a ton of opportunities at the time, and then WWE called and we're like, hey, we've been following you for a while and we love your work and we'd love to have you come and, try out for the creative team. They liked me, and you kind of live the life as a wrestler too. Like you're on the road with them, you're traveling,
That's
you're going from city to city. You're in the gorilla position with the headset on, saying, "All right, hit the music. All right, we're going home." Da, da, da. It's like you feel like a head coach. You feel like Mike Tomlin with the headset.
That's a great comp. I'm a Steeler fan, so I really appreciate that.
Yeah, like it's crazy, but it's really fun. It really grew me as a creative, being able to think on the fly, and I've always said there's no boss like working for Vince. Once you work for Vince McMahon, you can work for anybody. So that's kind of what my kind of a bunch of my career trajectory has been like.
You reminded me, my wife, I think, still has an autographed picture of her and Bret the Hitman Hart. That is probably her most prized possession. It hangs proudly. Oh yeah, no, we're both old school.
And what makes the show even greater is that Monica can't stand wrestling, so I try and bring it up every time.
That's harsh, but I find it very odd that it still very much shapes Kaz and other grown men that I know. It still is like a thing, and I'm like, y'all, it was fake. And Kaz, you know it was fake. People wrote it.
You better not say that around any, the wrong people.
Nobody goes up to the Game of Thrones writers and like, hey, this is fake, right? Dragons aren't coming on. I'm just saying that.
Fair enough. I appreciate the theater then, I guess. Whatever.
Well, okay, so I'll try to do a little transition here. You got the championship belt in the background. One of your guests that you have on regularly is Steve Novak, who used to put on the fake championship belt every time he hit a three. What has it been like working with Steve and Latrell, who I have to just say is my favorite Knick of all time? I'm 37 years old, so when he came to the team, it was like right in that, that sweet spot when you're a fan, when you're really old enough to really know what's going on, but you're still like innocent enough to buy in, like hook, line, and say, that was me when Latrell. I was like, oh my God, we got Latrell Sprewell. What has it been like to work with the two of them?
They're both great. Novi is literally a media pro. I mean, he's the voice of the Bucks right now.
I was about to say, yeah.
And then Latrell. The one thing I will say, I think when you deal with former athletes, particularly guys like that who have a breadth of appreciation and are in a place of life where they're just so grateful and they understand what they did, whether it had its highs, lows, whatever. They understand how unique it was and how fortunate they were to do it. Like, they just have this super cool, chill perspective. Like, they have no reason to cut cards. They're going to give it to you straight. They have their logic behind it, which we can't touch because we didn't spend double-digit years in the league. So it's kind of hard. I mean, you can counter them and they'll engage and have a conversation, but like, they're people, right? Like, and at this point in their life, especially, like, Novi texted us the other day after we got off air, and he's like, "God, I have so much fun," and we're thinking like, "Okay, great, like we're having fun too." So it's super mutual. I think one of my favorite clips so far in the show is us playing Shopping Spree with Spree, and we asked him about his hair care products, and he totally like leaned all the way in with us, and we're cracking up like we've known this man for years.
That's I would like to know all of his hair care products. I would like to use some of those hair care products.
I threw the pink moisturizer in there, and I got shamed by both of them because I guess that's before a lot of people's times or whatever. But yeah, I mean, like working with Steve Novak and Latrell Sprewell, I mean, those are two, again, what makes the show fun is I feel like I am the target audience. I'm a diehard Knick fan. I'm the guy that we're trying to get the audience of. And, when you're talking about memorable Knicks teams and memorable, like you said, we don't got many, but we got a few memorable Knicks teams. And when you got Latrell Sprewell, who took this team to the NBA Finals, a guy who will probably never pay for a drink in the city ever again, and Steve Novak, another very memorable Knicks team in those early 2010s when he's hitting the discount double checks with Jason Kidd and Carmelo and Jeremy Lin and all these guys, man. They're on top of them being great players. They're extremely charismatic. They're pros on the mic. We kind of fly off the handle a lot, and they always they always roll with it, which is the best part of any live morning show, man. Like, you just kind of never know what you're going to get thrown at. And, specifically Novak, man. Novak's always down for the get down.
Bucks podcast, man.
I had no idea the amount of feistiness that he had. Yeah. And so we was talking about Nate Robinson the other day, talking about, if you want to throw some knuckles up, he said he's down. And I was like, whoa, Steve, all right. I didn't know this. I know you had this part of your life in you. So that's my guy. Love Sprewell. Grew up on him. Again, I'm in my mid-30s as well. That team was extremely memorable for me, especially with the lockout season and that Heat. The Heat quarterfinals with the Allen Houston bounce, like just so many memories at Spree, and it's crazy that we get to talk hoops with him every week.
So when he was doing his thing, there was a younger man on the bench at the time by the name of Tom Thibodeau, had a little bit more hair back then as well. He is back. How excited are you guys to digest Tom Thibodeau sound bites? And can please tell me that there's something in the works to exploit just the utter Tibness of that he just brings to the table every day, because I can't wait to listen to him myself.
I will say we have quite the wiggle room for creativity. Of course, tastefully and respectfully done. So we'll stay tuned for some of that. But I think, and I'll definitely let Kaz jump in on this because you guys grew up with this team. But what I know of Tibbs, and everybody has said it, whether it's affiliated with the Knicks prior to this move or not, like, he's respected, right? Like, and I think that at its heart, when you look at organizations looking to rebuild or looking to grow, like, that's the bottom line. I think wisdom is that it's going to take some time, but if you've got a pillar in the centerpiece piece like Tibbs, like, okay, we're on the right track. Let's now see this thing through.
Yeah, I'll say when it comes to those quotes, the one thing I think the Knicks have really needed is to kind of establish a culture. And the one thing everybody around the league knew when Tibbs, signed to be the Knicks coach is that like the culture was about to change. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So whether it's the quotes, whether it's the way they practice, whether it's the way that they get ready for the season, I'm very intrigued. I'm extremely intrigued, especially that, it's no secret that this isn't an easy job to have in New York. You know what I mean? Like it's not an easy job to lead the Knicks, especially given the past history. But he's a guy who wanted the challenge. He's a guy who's wanted to take on the challenge, especially being from here, having his his pedigree with the New York Knicks. So I'm excited. He said a lot of things that got me excited during media day yesterday, specifically when it came to RJ Barrett. I was one of those folks that was very upset and surprised.
Where are you guys at on RJ? I got to ask, since you brought him up, where are you guys at? Where's your RJ meter right now?
Well, here's the thing. I've watched RJ Barrett for a long time. We had the same high school coach. Okay. He was coached by Coach Kevin Boyle in Montverde Academy. I was at St. Patrick's at the same time. So his son, I was really cool with. So I've known RJ Barrett for a while, and he's been one of the top prospects and basketball players for a long time. So I think his ceiling is very high. I think that a lot goes in to making a successful NBA player. It's not just talent. I think it's the makeup. I think it's the way he was brought up. He has NBA pedigree in his family. And on top of that, now he's got a whole big old chip on his shoulder after being left off of any all rookie teams after being picked third overall. And the Tibbs and a lot of the Knicks brass have made it known that RJ is the future. He is going to be the franchise player of this team. So I'm high on him. I'm happy to see that the Knicks are really gonna do what they can to make him the most important player on the team, and I'm excited to see where he takes that leap, especially with this long offseason.
Monica, you feeling RJ, and what other players on this team excite you?
I am feeling RJ, and I think for me, I go back to an interview we did on the MSG 150 last summer with Jay Billis, who talked about RJ's competitive motor. I asked him what was one of his most underrated qualities. Jay Billis at the time actually said his ability to defend, but he also pointed out his competitive nature. And I think all of us in life, you hit the next stage, there's always a curve. And so I think RJ got to experience the curve, right? Yeah. Like in a very real way. But when you hear somebody has that high competitive motor, like he's going to respond. Between what's already innately in him and the pieces that have been put around him as far as leadership, like Tibbs, we keep talking about, like I'm excited to see him respond. So I'm in on RJ. As a shooter, I would like to see him become a better shooter, but we've had a whole off season. So now I'm looking forward to see what he's been working on.
As are we all.
Pieces around him. I'm really excited about Obi. I didn't think that he was going to be available at 8. I thought Obi was going off the board 4 or 5. I didn't think he was going to be there. I'm super, super excited about him. Had a chance to talk with both him and Emmanuel at this point, and they are. It's funny you mentioned that idea of old enough to know, but still young enough to be naive. Yeah. In this case, in the uniqueness that is 2020, I think youth is a huge bonus. I think youth under new leadership is a huge bonus. This is
fresh blood, fresh air.
Yeah, it's all new to them. And in a way, this head coach position for Tibbs is new as well, right? Yes, it's the Knicks. Yes, he has contacts here or was here once before, but this is all new. And I think fresh eyes and the fresh mindset, that kind of energy, then you're able to stack your wins based on what we're doing as a unit, as opposed to the outside noise.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I know you mentioned Emmanuel quickly and Obi Toppin. I think the youth is a big benefit because they bring sort of a youthful swagger about them. And in a weird way, the Knicks have become this young, sort of confident team. I think Mitch Robinson's going to take a leap. I think RJ Barrett, you know what I mean? He's a guy that the basketball world I've seen for a while. They've been calling him Maple Mamba for most of his life. And, that's with reason. They think he's going to be one of the top 2 guards in the NBA eventually. And Obi Toppin, local guy, Brooklyn, New York, already doing viral videos about kids talking junk about him being in the Knicks. And when it comes to Quickly surprised me as well. I mean, that Kentucky swag, he played with Tyler Hero, played with a lot of guys in the Wildcats with John Calipari. And, you got to have a lot of confidence to come play in New York because it's not an easy gig. And I like that, Monica worded it perfectly. They're wise enough to know, but also young enough to not, give a darn.
So I love that how you put that. And that's a perfect place for us to finish up. I don't know, you may not have heard it yet, but Austin Rivers was interviewed earlier today, and he called it like I was really surprised to hear him say just outright, like, look, it's easy to go someplace where the pieces are already in place and you get into the playoffs and the whole thing, but to come and build it from the ground up and to do it in a place like New York where it's like, come on, if you could do it in New York, why would you want to do it anywhere else? I feel like that, brings me back to Amare, right? On the steps of the Garden, like the Knicks are back. And they kind of were for a little while. What do you think it's going to be like if this team can just, nobody's expecting playoffs this year, but if this team could just put it together and go out every night and you turn on the TV or you turn on you guys in the morning and you're going to hear some positives and they're going to be genuine. It's not like you're going to be making stuff up. How do you think the city is going to react to this team with this coach, new front office, young squad? What are you anticipating?
So Kaz knows, obviously, because he holds us down and gives our show deep equity in the city. Me going on 3 years covering New York, the only thing I can compare it to is when the Washington football team was good in this area. And literally, it's a different city. It is a different city. So I know Kaz is going to go deep in depth on that. But I think the other thing, too, is, and that's why, to me, it's got to be wins based on the TIB thermometer, the TIB scale, whatever that looks like. You got to have the wherewithal to understand it. If it's not a 6 seed in the playoffs, that's okay. But if there's progress that we can all see and the fight is there and there's competition, I saw this on Twitter. I don't know who said it, maybe not verified, but somebody pointed out that the other team posted a video and the video of New Orleans Noel got twice as many views. And this other person on the other video is a big deal. But I know that going on year 3, working with this company and this organization, I know that New York is for the Knicks.
Yeah, always will be too.
I mean, all you got to do is look at the New York Giants, man. Everybody always says that New York, you can't have a rebuild in New York. The New York fans aren't patient, But look at us. I mean, granted, yes, it's been a long road, but from the Scott Perry years to where we're at now with Leon Rose and making sure the team's financially set when it comes to the salary cap, not mortgaging the future when it comes to draft picks, using those draft picks wisely to get more money and make sure they're still flexible. They have worked this rebuild pretty, swiftly and smartly. And on top of that, I feel like New York fans are smart enough to understand that we'll root for a team that plays hard. Mm-hmm. We won't root for a team that's going to sit there and just poo-poo on the court every week. I mean, we look at the Giants right now. The Giants are 4-7.
They're playing hard.
Play hard. That's the thing. New York teams will always respect, even if they're granted the NFC least is what it is or whatever. But I mean, New York Giants fans are very similar to New York Knicks fans, man. They will always support a team that puts it all on the floor every single time they tip off. And the makeup of the team right now with the youth, with Tibbs, with, not really a whole lot of expectations. You know what I mean? There's a lot to, build on this year. Nobody's expecting them to be world beaters, obviously. But what we can do is say, okay, there's 3 to 4 players on this team that if they improve and the team improves and there's, they've taken steps, with the youth and with the organization and especially at the point guard position, if there's growth there, New York fans will be very excited and very happy with where the Knicks put out this season.
If they finish the season with the answer at point guard, I'm going to remember you just said that because that would be lovely.
I still believe in Dennis Smith Jr. I still believe.
You're right.
I think he got it, man. I think he's had a tough year personally and professionally. Anybody can relate to that, especially losing somebody close to you. And he cares, man. He wants to be great. He wants to be, the answer at point guard. So I hope he pulls it all together, man. I really do. Talented kid.
All the talent is in the world is there. I hope you're right. You mentioned putting it all on the floor. You guys put it all on the floor every morning. Even though I said it and even though everybody already knows, it is tradition. I end the show with asking people what they'd like to plug or promote, where folks can find you. So Monica, what do you want to say on your way out?
Hey, well, definitely please check out the MSG AM. We'd like to have a long run. We'd like to have good views. Check out the YouTube clips, engage with us. We definitely will read tweets and whatnot on the air if folks are engaging with us. So definitely check out the show. On my socials are last name, first name. So McNutt Monica. Shout out. Also, thanks for the invite on the pod, Jonathan. But I have felt super welcomed by the fan base. Like, people hit me up on social. We love your energy. We're excited. Like, I'm super excited to join this and to witness the loyalty, because I firmly believe it's only a matter of time.
I love that.
One of us. Of course, tune in every morning on MSG AM, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and the repeats throughout the day as well. Definitely. Check out the YouTube page as well. If you can't check it out, go to MSG Network's YouTube and check out my podcast, Say Less with Kaz and Low Key. My boy Low Key over at Apple Music. We talk a lot of music, a lot of sports, a lot of lifestyle. My friend Rosie's also a guest host on there, and we just have a lot of fun there. So check out that podcast. It's also very, very fun. And and also check out the podcast that I produce. The first one with DJ Khaled on Amazon Music through Spring Hill Entertainment. It's a great show.
Nice.
If you like music and you enjoy the origin stories of where these great songs come from, go check it out, because in literally an hour I have to go do an interview with DJ Khaled and Nas and produce that. So that should be a goodie. So for you New Yorkers, tune into that one when it's ready.
I'm honored that I'm the person that got to talk to you before you go get to talk to those folks.
You're breaking the news, John. You're breaking the news.
I really do love nothing more than speaking to talented people who put all of their heart and soul and energy into what they do, and it shows. So thank you very much. I know Knicks fans are going to love this. And everybody out there, yes, one more time, go check out both Monica and Kaz every morning, 8 to 9 a.m. Go check out the YouTube. Go check out the podcast. Go check these people out everywhere. They're awesome. I mean,
follow me on socials at Kazeem, Kazeem. I forgot to plug the socials. How do you forget to plug the socials on the podcast?
Monica, we got to get your Twitter following up a little bit more. I peeped that earlier today. We got to get it up a little bit.
So here's the thing, and then I'm gonna let us go because we're getting out of here. I was very much like J school, local market, like came up the very traditional way, and social was kind of like a secondary ancillary thing. So now I'm like trying to train my mind to be like a little bit more all in. I'm not getting on Clubhouse though, or whatever.
No. Clubhouse is a terrible place. Don't go there. But Twitter, Instagram, I got you, Monica. We here.
I don't even know what Clubhouse is, so we're all. That's wonderful.
Keep it that way.
Okay.
It's an awful place. You don't want to be there.
I will not go there. Thank you again, guys. This is great, and everybody out there, thanks for listening to another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. We'll be back with you with another one very soon.